Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this series on Sakuraba's book, doku ryoku. It's really interesting for me. It's a really interesting read, and man, again, I would love to do a little side project, to translate this book into English. We're just getting into the part where Sakuraba's talking about his fights with the Gracie family, his fights against members of the Gracie family. And the section starts off with, even though their last name is Gracie, they're all humans. They're all just humans. They're not magicians. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. He's like, and I didn't really approach it with an attitude of like, I'm gonna drive it home into these guys and beat them up. He's like, there was no bad feelings or animosity against each other. In fact, I thought we were gonna have, I thought this was an opportunity for us to have a really exciting match, for us to have a really exciting fight. And that just kind of shows you Sakuraba's attitude towards a challenge. The Gracie family reestablished kind of this strong martial art. In the UFC, they highlighted jiu-jitsu as being a very dominant martial art, where Royce came in and just the smallest guy beating bigger, stronger opponents. And so there was this Sakuraba calls it the Rickson shock, right? And he goes on to explain it a little bit later, and I'll do it. I'm just going to follow the order of the book. But he wanted to show that professional wrestlers are strong too. And so first he talks about how his fight was set up with the Gracie families. And he realized if he stuck with that Pride promotion, then he would eventually get an opportunity to have a match against the Gracie family. And initially, what's interesting is it says that he was supposed to have his first fight against Renzo Gracie, and he was really excited to have that fight because he knew that Renzo was a well-balanced fighter. He had his ground submissions. He had a good stand-up game. So he was very balanced, and he had really good technique. Let's see. Another thing that he says, they were about the same weight, so he knew it was going to be that wasn't going to be a problem. And this is interesting. He said he had a good personality. Because his personality was so good, he was really looking forward to that fight with Renzo. He knew it was going to be a good match. And apparently the fight had almost been sealed or, completely arranged. And all of a sudden, things changed. And Royler Gracie was the one that was going to replace Renzo Gracie. And he says he wasn't looking forward to his fight with Royler for a few reasons. He had weighed 85 kilos, which is roughly about 185 pounds. But Royler was only weighing at 69 kilos, which I would say, let's see, is about 150, 160 pounds. So there was a big weight difference between the two, and he felt that, had he won, it was supposed to be, it was too one-sided. Like, he was too heavy, and people wouldn't acknowledge his win because he was so much bigger. And if he lost, then it would just be, so it was a lose-lose for Sakuraba to fight Royler Gracie. So he couldn't swallow the deal as a professional fighter. It seemed too one-sided to him. But what was interesting was they even threw in that if Royler chose to, or if Sakuraba beat Royler, then they would sweeten the deal and they would let him fight Rickson Gracie. And Rickson Gracie had already shocked the world. You know, the Rickson shock. Sakuraba calls it the Rickson shock. You know, the 400 fights, undefeated man. That was he was really interested in the opportunity to fight Rickson, so he took the fight with Royler. And you know, we see, and then what was really interesting is, like, once he took the fight with Royler, Royler's side, I'm sure it wasn't necessarily Royler himself, but Royler's side was, they were changing, they wanted to change the rule set. So one example that Sakuraba talks about in here was Pride was 2 10-minute rounds, and after the 2 rounds the referees would decide the winner. But Royler didn't want that. He wanted it to be 2 15-minute rounds, so it was a longer fight, and he didn't want it to come down to a referee's decision. So if the match wasn't ended with a knockout or submission or some kind of stoppage, then it would be a draw. And that wasn't, you know, Sakuraba didn't see that as being favorable. I guess he got kind of frustrated, and that was, you know, he says in here, that's when he realized that fighting the Gracies was more, making arrangements to fight a Gracie was more annoying than anything. And so he was like, he got really annoyed, so he just he agreed to all stipulations on the Gracie side. And in 1999, November 21st, Pride number 8, Pride 8. So if you guys have a UFC Fight Pass or something, maybe you can go back and watch it. I kind of want to watch that again too. I think it might even be on YouTube. Anyways, you see him. He actually does. He says in here, he does the chicken wing arm lock. He calls it the chicken wing arm lock, which was, I think it was a Kimura that he finished. What jiu-jitsu people would know it as a Kimura, to finish, and the referee stopped the fight for Sakuraba to win. And then I guess he after the match, he gets really excited. They give him a mic, and you know, he takes the mic in hand and he says, "You're next. Next, I'm gonna take you, brother," his brother, or, you know, like, "I'm gonna take on you," and he's looking at Rickson, and "I'm gonna beat you," and you know, that gets the crowd super excited. Apparently, though, after the match, Royler Gracie, he had some kind of, based on the judge's call to stop the match, there was some kind of he had some complaints towards the judge's decision to stop the fight, and so there was some quarrels going on, and the fight with Rickson fell through. So anyways, this next one, he goes into his fight with Royler Gracie, and the Royler Gracie match is even more entertaining, or more exciting, because it's a classic, or, you know, a very famous mixed martial arts fight, in that it goes on for, I think, over 90 minutes between him and Sakuraba. I don't think there was a time limit, but yeah, so that'll be our next one. Give me some feedback. Let me know how you guys like these. Look forward to sharing more of Sakuraba's doku ryoku with you guys. Talk to you guys soon.